Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Please your attention for Joseph, who's going to present for group number 3.
Good morning, I'm Joseph and I will represent Group 3. So, our group went on a mission to explore the differences between the cradle-to-cradle approach and the state-of-the-art approach. We define the cradle-to-cradle approach as a eco-effective, sustainable concept that promotes a framework in which we as humans can have a positive impact on the environment. This is then contrasted with the state-of-the-art, which we define as our current unsustainable behavior, including the eco-efficient approach, which only promotes a reduction in the negative impact we have on our environment. So, seeing that the building industry is responsible for 40% of the global emissions, we thought it was only right to focus our paper on a promising sustainable concept, namely the cradle-to-cradle. And by doing some research and some reading, we found out there seems to be a lack in clarity between the differences concerning the different sustainable concepts. So that's why our research question is actually to look at which research method is best at providing us with a clear overview. So we started by choosing 4 research methods, and then we chose, we collected 10 articles per research method. We put them in a grid to analyze them on their content quality and their reliability, and in the end we compared the methods to formulate an answer on the question. So the first research method is comparative research. In this research method, the differences and similarities between 2 or more cases are studied, and the biggest advantage of this research method is the fact that you have a short time span that you need to conduct the research. But a disadvantage is that the lack of human perceptions could lead to unreliable results. So this is the graph on the content quality. You can see in the graph there's a big variation in the positive or negative comments that are made on the different variables. And if you look at the reliability, you see that with authority-based being the least reliable and meta-analysis being the most, you see that a large part of the articles were actually really reliable. So we concluded that this research method is a very reliable research method to use in the answering of our question. The second one being observational research method. In this research method, the researcher observes an ongoing experience in itself and in its context. And a big advantage of this research method is that it's the best for studying natural behavior. On the other hand, it is recommended to use 2 observers in order to get valid results. So if you look at this graph now, it looks a bit the same. You see a big variation in the negative and positive comments that are made per dependent variable, but in this case there seems to be more variation, and that's what we want to have, because the more variation you have, the better the overview can be on both approaches. But if you look at the reliability graph, you see that 4 out of 10 articles seem to be very unreliable. So we concluded that this research method does score very low on the aspect of reliability. Then we go to the third research method, being a case study. In this research method, a person or a group or a situation is analyzed either in its real-life context or in an imagined scenario. And the most important advantage is that it simplifies complex concepts. Disadvantage is that a lot of time is needed to conduct this research. So looking at this graph now, you see a lot of gaps. This means that there is not a lot of variety in the kind of results and answers we found in the papers. So meaning that less variety means actually less quality in the content. But if you look at the reliability, there seems to be a big difference with the 2 previous research methods, because 5 out of 10 articles seem to be very reliable. So on that aspect, this research method does score very high. Then we go to the last research method that we use, the literature study. In this research method, literary material is analyzed and evaluated in order to form a question, an answer on a question. Sorry. And the big advantage of this one is that it sometimes can lead to unique insights. But on the other hand, it is known that authors are very biased when they are ordering their content. So if you look at this graph, it also has a lot of gaps, meaning that this research method is also very lacking in its variety of comments on the different dependent variables. And if you look at the reliability, there also seems to be a low score because 5 out of 10 articles seem to be very unreliable, just making this research method in its whole a very low-ranking research method. So we then put the graphs for the content reality into a total graph, in fact, where you can see how the different research methods compare to each other. And at first glimpse, you can actually see that the first two, the comparative analysis and observation, score highest because the way in which they vary in the kind of negative or positive comments is more balanced than the other. And if you look at the reliability ranking of all of them, you see that the case study scores higher. The second is the comparative analysis, and observation and literature study, they score lowest on this aspect. So we then concluded that the best research method for giving us an overview of the differences in the two approaches is the comparative analysis. And then you see that case study and observation actually score the same. So we concluded that, okay, if you want to make a clear overview of the differences between cradle-to-cradle approach and the state-of-the-art approach, it would be best to make a comparative analysis. But it would also be smart to also incorporate a case study research or a observational research, just to make sure that the overview is as qualitative and as reliable as possible. So yeah, thank you.
Questions? Remarks?
Yes.
How did you define reliability?
On top of the graph, there was like authority-based, another one, and meta-analysis. And these concepts were described. So, for instance, the authority-based, in such article, the author only makes assumptions without the underlying references or data to back up his claim. So we looked at all the articles, and whenever we saw that the article was mainly built on assumptions, then we put them in that category. So in that way, we actually ranked the articles on their reliability. So, yeah.
Of course, I have always questions. I wonder, because your conclusion in the end is, okay, the comparative analysis is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Could you, in very short words, tell us what were their conclusions on the advantages and disadvantages of the cradle-to-cradle approach?
It was very, actually it was, if I would explain that in terms of the results from the comparative analysis, there were some negative comments made on the cradle-to-cradle approach, being that it does not, because the cradle-to-cradle approach, they make use of a certifying system for certifying C2C, this cradle-to-cradle products. But in that certification, they don't take the use phase of the material into account. So that is a big part that is missing, because they assume that, okay, whenever something is used or done, and energy is used, the energy should be 100% renewable. But we live in a world in which not all energy is renewable yet. So in that part, it does lag. So that is one.
And one positive?
Yeah, actually, most of the articles were very positive. I mean, the biggest difference is the fact that the cradle approach actually stimulates a looped material cycle in which there is no waste, thus making it much better than the eco-efficient approach, in which you just want to limit the amount of damage you are doing onto the environment. So in that way, they do differ a lot.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.